preparing not unusual food, but food that you wouldn't expect to get in an Australian country town. And that includes the little beetroot sorbet dessert, you know. So tell us about, well, we've kind of jumped ahead a bit because we haven't introduced Jerry yet.
Okay.
And we have a meeting of, this is a wonderfully rich part of Anna's story, which is attending UTS as a industrial chemical student. She meets Jerry Lutzakis, who is, this is the Greek side of the family, this is the Chinese side of the family. So it isn't a matter of two dynasties meeting, it's this incredible coming together of two cultures. And what Anna and Jerry used to do when they were at uni was?
We used to eat out 3 meals a day if we could afford it. We were, I guess, how we met initially was that we've got this huge food interest, both of us. So Jerry was brought up in like fish shops.
Yeah,
I should mention that. But that's the Lutzakis family. So Jerry is the little blonde there. That's his sister, mum and dad.
Is that the real Harbour Bridge or the painted backdrop?
I'm not sure.
No, it's diorama. Yeah, it's a studio shot.
Isn't that wonderful?
Okay. This is a shot that we really love. That's my gorgeous husband and his mother in the far corner, and that was one of their fish shops. So Jerry actually grew up in a fish shop, like in the food industry as well, I guess. Yeah. So that's how both of us basically grew up in restaurants, and that's how we ended up in Mila, really. But we noticed when we were looking at it early, we're at 25 cents for chips. So first of all, so that was, yeah, a little while.
But I think it's really funny, there's a sign for mullet. Even though he doesn't have a mullet, he's going to quit. And mullet, you know, fancy serving mullet at that time. Because people don't love mullet even now. It's like used as a bait fish. But there's a significant culinary story here with you two men, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. Like, I was brought up in this staunch Chinese family. Jerry was brought up in a staunch Greek family. So there wasn't, and the initial meeting, or the suggestion that there would be this amalgamation wasn't very nicely taken to. But as you can see, they've all actually, eventually we found that our cultures were a lot more similar than what we thought. It was all based around food and around the table. So as you can see from probably my next slide, this is in Jerry's mum's house, and it was the first time his aunt ever came across her. That was his dad's sister from Greece, and she's an absolute marvel. She cooks everything from scratch, and she used to cook for the whole family. So, no, it's not one word of English. I knew not one word of Greek unless it was a swear word. And we got on like a house on fire. So this is her teaching me how to make phyllo from scratch. So in Jerry's mum's house. So,
and if anyone here tonight came to David Sarakis' talk, he spoke about rolling phyllo pastry, and he bought the board that his mum bought out from Greece for the phyllo, and it was about this wide. And there's the timber rolling for rolling out the phyllo, which goes to paper, even more than paper thin, like wonderful transparency, doesn't it?
It's incredible, and it's nothing like bought stuff. So it's absolutely incredible, the homemade stuff. Recommended anytime.
And so this just proves that food goes beyond language, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. Definitely, definitely. So, I mean, when I made for her, like, something simple, like, you know, the shallot and ginger sauce with prawns and stuff, and lobster and things, you know, her...
Not simple, prawns. Yeah, it's delicious.
Yeah, look, this is like, my memory, that's another one of my smell memories from the past, like, you know, just having a fresh bowl of, like, shredded ginger, shallot, your coriander, and green ends of the shallots on top, and then soy on the bottom, and hot oil on top. And these days we've got olive oil instead of peanut oil, but just the same smell, you know, and that's one of the flavour memories, if you like, of the past. And yeah, I made something like that for Jerry's auntie, and she was like, oh wow. So yeah, so we were swapping different recipes, because at that time when she came up, we also had a sheep dairy in Cowra. So, and she made this sheet mix. It was almost like a custard, but she didn't know how to do that traditionally. So it was just lovely. We're just cooking things for each other, going, oh wow. So I did make notes that time. Yeah. So it was really nice, and it's been lovely. So on the same cultural trail, I guess. So to make sure that Ari our son got brought up with both, we went down to Chinatown, and he was scared shitless that day. Yeah, there was a lion's dance and the lucky envelopes going in. So that's a big one. And then back in 2000, Jerry's auntie came back out again for another family wedding, and that's her looking at our quinces on the farm. So she's going, oh look, wow! And she picked olives as well because she couldn't believe all the harvest and all the fruits and veggies that were there. And yeah, I think that's what Jerry wanted to recreate when we moved to Cowra.
Yeah. So you were saying you went out and got a farm before you actually moved out there.
Yeah.
So what was the impetus behind that move from Sydney?
Well, we didn't initially want to move to Cowra. Jerry always, everything I touch dies, and everything he touches just blooms and grows. So, and he wanted desperately, because on the island that his auntie and his parents come from, they actually grow lots of olives. They grow Chinese red dates, believe it or not. And there were all these other things that they grew, and he just wanted this plot of land, like the climate in this island in Greece, that we could get to on a weekend. So I think at the time his sister actually was living in Canberra. So he organised to actually visit her by Cowra. I'm going, shit, what the hell for? But he'd organised a meeting with a real estate agent, and we were looking at plots of land. At that stage we were looking at about 10 acres or so. But there's this block that came up that had a house on it, that had electricity, that had a kitchen. I said, oh, I don't mind if we get something in Cowra, as long as it's got running water, got power, and we're not camping, it's fine. So that's how we ended up where we are now. We've got this old Pizé house. It's about 120 years old when we bought it, so gosh, it'll be a bit older than that now. So we ended up there, and he'd done all his homework. We put in all these olives, Chinese red dates as well, and quinces. What else have we got in? I don't know. Anyway, persimmons. Yeah, there's a whole heap of stuff that we actually use in the restaurant in the ground there.
And it's not really within comfortable drive of Sydney, is it? Cowra? It's not like a weekender.
It's a long weekender.
It's a long weekender.
Yeah.
It's 4 hours, 5?
It's about 300 k's, 300 odd k's, I suppose. If you go to the mountains, 400 if you come on the M5 and the highway. It's a nice 3-day destination. A weekend's just a tad short. So yeah, but we used to go up. When we were with our child, we could go up weekends, and I hope there's no one from work here. I used to ring up on the Sunday, like, oh, I think I'll work from up here today. So yeah, and it was cool. We just sort of did that for a little while. Yeah, until Ari sort of came along. We got to a point we said, oh, do we have a child? And we said, oh, look, if it happens, it happens. It happened, and we said, oh, look, we won't. Yeah, it's not going to change anything. We'll still go up to Cowra weekends because we loved Cowra. So we thought, oh, nothing will change, and yeah,
everything does.
Yeah.
But just to recap, when you guys met at uni, you both had an intense interest in food, and you said you ate out 3 times a day if you could and when you could afford it. But was there a post-analysis process around your eating out? Was it just, oh, let's go out to lunch or let's go out to dinner? It seemed to me that you were both highly motivated about identifying flavours and understanding the food you were eating.
Oh, we love flavours and we love food and we love wine. So we used to go out and we used to look at all the reviews. We'd go through and look up all the appropriate places, and yeah, we'd go out and we'd enjoy it. We'd sample different things, and we like the different combinations of things. So we like putting things together that you wouldn't naturally put together. For instance, say that the venison and the...
Oh, it was venison, that's right.
That venison and the white chocolate, and there's olives. And we actually only came across that. We were eating, I think, the white chocolate, and we put olives in our mouth. I thought, wow. mean, it's things that are sort of a bit far apart, but they actually work together. And that's what we like. And also being Chinese, we've got this this breath of the wok, I suppose. So everything's got a, for instance, if you, to explain, if you stir fry something and you stir fry on low heat, you get this stew that doesn't smell nice or have a flavour to it. But if you have the right heat under it, when you take the food off the wok, it smells nice. It's got this beautiful aroma, and this is what we try and reproduce. When we look at food for our restaurant, we always look for an aroma of some sort and for textures. So going back to the bull's famous thing, we like.
I know, it was just cheap at the butcher's that week.
It was actually really cheap. No one else was going to buy it. But we actually had to go to the advertise. Luckily, we've got advertising Cara. To put this back on the thing, the brief was shock us. Do something absolutely shocking and make us think about what we're eating. And we said, okay, we can do that. So I got these bull pizzles specially from the advertise, and I said, how much are they? I said, you can have that. I don't know what you can do with it, but you can have it. I think the first one I cooked up, I put it in, we soaked it, we did everything with it, and I cooked it up and I said to Dad, I rang up my father, of course. I said, Dad, I'm cooking up these bull pizzles and they smell. I said, what am I going to do with it? And amazingly, Dad actually said to me, get some salt, rub it through, let it sit for a few hours, rinse it off, and then put it in with the spices and stuff. And I did that, and it was absolutely amazing. I said, Dad, how did you know that? He says, don't worry about it. I said, oh, okay. So we actually, and it was funny because I was a bit worried about how it would go down at the symposium, because I knew that these people would be quite open to different things. But I thought, well, what are we going to do? So we had these pizzles and they were all cooked and they were all spiraled and ready to go. And I thought, okay, Thursday night at the restaurant. So it's not really, really busy. It's sort of busy-ish. And they were all locals there. So I thought, well, I can actually do something here without, shocking anyone, because they'll tell me the truth. So all these locals would come in and I'd start them off with a little appetizer of this pizzle, exactly how I served it at the symposium, with the fresh pig and with the star anise foam. And they all, oh wow, this is amazing. I'm thinking, thank God for that. And they all wanted to, they all said, Jane, can we go in and see the whole pizzle? So they all marched in one by one. You know, where's your pizzle? So I'm pulling it out of the fridge. Here it is. So it was the most amazing night. So that after that, the success of that night, I thought, oh well, I can serve it at the symposium then. And I must say, if you don't think of what you're eating, we're going back to textures and smells and how things go together, won't we? So it's more like the texture. It's like eating chicken's feet, I suppose. I mean, really, there's no real meat on it, but they do taste good because the texture is nice, and then what you cook in with it is what's important. It carries that the flavour of that. So, if you cook something that hasn't got a flavour or whatever, you put flavours to it, add flavours or add crispness or add whatever it is. And I guess that's how we come up with what we do.
So how did you end up as a restaurateur?
Well, we're both industrial chemists as a base, and then we sort of said, Jerry went on to teaching, I went into accounting. And I guess when our son was born, I was a systems accountant, just implementing systems everywhere, and Jerry was actually teaching. And we sort of said, well, if we move to Cara, okay, we looked at the farm, we used to go up every weekend, we can't go up anymore. They where the lead is, so we've got this little PZ house, and the grass had grown so high after Ari was born that we couldn't see outside the windows. So we were actually on our tippy toes going, we can't even see outside. And then we thought, and we've come up, we've got baby in tow, we've got a car full of baby stuff like a moving house. And we're so exhausted by the time we got there, we're thinking, what the hell are we doing here? So we sort of looked at each other and we went, oh gosh, maybe we've got to sell the farm. And at that stage we thought, oh, sell the farm. We're actually quite happy here. So what do we do? And we thought, well, we work hard in Sydney. We were doing many hours doing implementations and whatnot, and we weren't actually seeing a lot of RE anyway. We thought, well, hey, we've got this one child. We really should be taking a look at what's important in life. So that's how we ended up moving to Cowra, or thinking about moving to Cowra. And then when we thought, once we got to Cowra, we thought, gosh, where am I going to work? And Jerry goes, oh, I'm not teaching at the local high school, because if you walk out of there, everyone knows you. Like, there's no anonymity. It's not like it when you're in Sydney. You can be anonymous to a degree if you don't live near where you work. Yeah, and I went, oh, okay, well, you're not teaching. I'm not doing taxation, because that's all there was in corporate bookkeeping or taxation and accounting. So we sort of thought, well, you know, maybe we need to go and think about this. And there were so many weekends where we'd been up to Cowra and there were roadside stalls selling like peaches and strawberries and things. And it was like going back to childhood again. We were buying these bits of fruit off roadside stalls, eating them, going, oh wow, they smell. The smell of them and the taste of them were incredible. And at that stage there was a guy out there, a Japanese guy, who was growing white peaches for Tetsuyas. So we were actually buying these from the roadside stall going, wow. And then he goes, oh, I sold them to Tetsuya. I thought, oh wow, okay, that sort of explains it. So we thought, oh, well, really, maybe we're interested in food. And it's that old saying that if you do something that you love, it never feels like you're working. You're not working all the time, you're working some of the time, but not all of it. So we sort of thought, well, maybe we should go into restaurants. And we sort of mentioned it to our parents. They weren't very happy. They sort of looked at us and said, what did you go to uni for?
Yeah.
You know, what are you guys doing on uni? Okay. So we sort of thought, okay, well, we've got to do something. We thought, no, let's give it a go. So that's how we ended up at Neela, doing our own thing.
Now I was going to ask you a bit about, you know, how your food goes down with your customers, but the fact that they all were willing to eat things tells me that. So what we might do is, if anyone in the audience has any questions for Anna, if you'd like to ask them. Does anyone have any questions?
Anna, I've never heard of the whole chicken being presented with the head and I love the tail, but the head I've not coped with before. How do you cook it and how do you present it as an entire bird? I presume that means the feet and whatever.
Yeah, it's everything. So
you've taken the feathers off and you've gutted it, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't eat the guts at the same time. We clean those out and set them up later.
Oh, right.
So we just prepare it. What we do, it's like I guess example would be a master stock chicken, which a lot of the Chinese families do. So you make this basic master stock and you would cook the whole bird together. And when you present it, I suppose you chop it.
Do you curl the head around like a dying
like
swan?
A swan?
Yeah.
Yeah, possibly.
Or you just have him like this,
Well,
out on the platter.
Get too fast as long as it's there. Yeah, it's the presence of it, I think, that is more important. And there are like for instance, some people like the parson's nose. There are people that would like the feet, and there are people that like the beaks. Yeah, and like fish heads as well. I remember years ago, we used to go down to the fishmonger and they'd give us all their fish heads, and now they actually charge you for it. So that's sort of, it's a total change of a shift of culture.
And don't you hate it how they're all salmon fish heads and you can hardly ever get a white fish head?
Oh, you can.
You know, but
It depends who you ask.
Anyone else? Jackie?
Yes, Anna, thank you. It's just so lovely to speak with such passion.
This is Jackie Newling, who is the co-curator of the exhibition upstairs.
But I'm very curious to hear that your mum came out from China in 1961 and yet couldn't cook rice. So what does that tell you about, or what does that present about her upbringing and her
Totally
culture?
different from my father's. So mum was actually, her family were into properties, developing properties, I suppose, before the communists came in. So they lost everything in that regime. And then I think my grandmother sent mum over with some gold, like whatever gold they could rummage together, and that's the sort of, I suppose, currency in case. And she came over as a student. So
Yes, I was wondering if it had something to do with the cultural and political
Yeah.
changed it.
It
But you
did.
didn't have that, you know, we've got this nostalgic idea of people growing up at their mother's knees and, you know,
No.
but I guess that was so shattered.
Yeah, I think that the whole that whole time frame, Dad only came to his family were all like farmers, I guess, over in Canton, and Dad came over here to sort of try and get some funds together to help the family. So that's why he was sent over initially, and then my grandfather followed after. So it was all because of hardship, and it's not the rosy. Yeah, but they were basically told when they went up aboard a ship that Australia was the land of gold. So they expected to come here to be able to pick lumps of gold off the ground. That's what they thought. Yeah, the nickname for Australia was, you know, Island of Gumsang, so it must be Island of Gold.
100 years too late.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a very, very different way of life and, yeah, an upbringing. So.
What is the name Neela? Where did that come from? And have you written any books?
No.
She must though, mustn't she? Yeah. It's going to be a great book, Anna.
Someone else will have to write it for me, I
In
think.
your spare time?
Yeah.
Jerry, where are you?
I'm not good with words, maybe my son. Anyway, Neela is actually an area of Cowra. It's sort of about 10 k's out of town, and there used to be an old school there and a schoolhouse and a church, I think, on the hill. And yeah, that's where the name of the restaurant comes from. Also, Neela Creek goes through our property as well. And as a young boy, there's always young boys that point out these things, point out to us after we open, it's alien backwards and it's I said, oh, yeah, I guess. So that's how Neela came about.
Up back? Yes,
I
you.
just can I ask a question? In relation to your food style then, being in rural, because I grew up country but Riverina way, so has your food style changed a lot? Because I'm thinking of what, my upbringing and the food styles that were pretty basic in Cora at the time compared to now. So have you had to alter your food style a lot over the years?
No, not really. We've altered the way we cook things. I remember when we first opened, we put the word chili on one of our dishes, like on the menu, to explain something. We sold not one of those. And by all the prep and all the things that we've done to it, we didn't sell one serve. And in the end, I gave some away. And I said, so just try this, right? And they tried and said, it's okay. So the next week, we reprinted the menus, chopped out the word chili and left the dish as it was. And people had it and enjoyed it. So we've just learnt to be very minimalistic, I suppose, with our words and our explanations. and people sort of, our clientele actually moved on with us. And I remember like the first few weeks cooking lamb to they wanted it burnt. So it was making me sick putting this piece of lamb on the plate because it was just charred. It smelled terrible. We're into smells. And I thought, what are we doing? This is disgusting. But those same people came back and had a beef tartare. And I said, do you know what that means? He said, oh, look, we trust you. It's okay. We just close our eyes with the first bite. It's okay. Wow. Yeah. So it has been nice, that part of it.
I think it's fantastic. There was another question up here. Yes.
Given the history of Chinese people, not just in Australia, but throughout the Western world, does it surprise you that it's taken so long for Chinese fusion sort of cuisine to meld with Western cuisine as you do now?
I think there's been a lot of it, but there's some that sort of, there's some things that just don't work. And I guess if you have a fusion thing that is sort of, not all fusion works, I guess is a short answer. Yeah, and it's getting that combination right. So it can't be, there are some times where I stick to a traditional recipe because that's the way it is. But if I change it, it's got to be changed for a reason and not just to change it.
The other thing I think is interesting about our appreciation of Chinese food is very similarly to our appreciation of Greek food or Italian food is actually more our understanding of regionalism. So we can, in Sydney now, which we wouldn't have been able to do 20 years ago, we can clearly define Cantonese. you know,
Sichuan.
food from Sichuan, etc. Northern noodles, heavier dumplings, that kind of style. So I like the way you framed that question, that, you know, it sounds to me like you're a lover of Chinese food, and it's kind of, hasn't everyone woken up yet to how great it is?
Yeah, and it can be nice, but even if you go to regional areas now, the Chinese will have is, it's like stepping back in time.
And in a way, that is the culture of the Chinese restaurant in country communities. I would hate them to change. I would hate to not get sweet sour pork or lemon chicken. You know, it's kind of this retro appeal. But you wouldn't really call yourself a Chinese cook, would you?
No. I don't know what I'd call myself actually.
And how much of the menu is Greek, for instance? If any. That's right.
Yeah. So we've actually adopted, we've amalgamated and adopted all these different things. So they work for us.
Well, I think that's what is so appealing about Mila, is that you have got these two really strong cultural influences, which has resulted in a very unique style of food that certainly I don't think is replicated anywhere in regional New South Wales. So, which is why, you know, sending people to Cowra, go to Mila, guys, really, it's a wonderful weekend away and a really fantastic restaurant. Do we have any more questions? Yeah.
Thank you very much for sharing such a personalised version of your story about your journey. It's very fascinating to hear about. I know from Matthew that you, not too long ago, spent some time travelling in Europe and doing quite an extraordinary food tour. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Oh yeah. Not that long ago we sort of said, okay, it's the right time for us to pull our son out of school and give him it's nice to grow up in Cowra, but it's not nice to think that that's all there is. So we needed to grow up in Cowra and have this beautiful childhood, but we also wanted to open his eyes as far as the rest of the world. And there was a perfect opportunity. My brother, who's still in the UK, about to move to Singapore, was there. He's going, hey, I'm here, come and see me. And Jerry's relatives were also saying from Greece, yeah, come and see us. So we took the opportunity, we went. It's been really, really lovely to see different places and go. I guess we're probably not tourists. We like to see the sights, but they are not what we go for. We've actually spent a lot of time in little places and actually doing the, what do you call it? We're travellers, I think. We like to enjoy what locals enjoy and get the whole regional thing. Yeah, it's been really, really nice. So, you know, and it's been lovely having Matthew there because he's gone and sussed out all these little places, and I know that we're 16 years. There's 16 years difference between Matthew and myself. So I'm the eldest, he's the youngest. So poles apart age-wise, but as far as food-wise, Matthew loves his food. So I know that if Matthew says, "Oh, you've got to go and try this guy," you know, I'm there and I'm trying it. So yeah, I guess the most amazing thing was. We've been to a lot of places where we've had, good food doesn't necessarily have to be expensive food. Good food is what, you know, for instance, we went to China and to Beijing. I have not one word of Mandarin, so my Chinese wasn't any good to me. And we were staying in this place, and it was just before the Olympics, so not everyone had clued up about English, you know, learned English or was able to serve in English. So we thought, well, what do we do now? We were eating in the hotel, it's just boring hotel food. We'd been to see the sites, had private drivers and stuff, and then we went around the corner, and in this little laneway, there were all these people walking down, thinking, what the hell's going on here? So we followed them round, and there were only 3 little words on this dark window. 3 men of Guangzhou or something, right? And there's 3 monkeys doing strange things, so we're thinking, ugh. But there were heaps and heaps of locals there, and there were all these strange smells wafting out of it. And we thought, wow, this is what it's like going into a different country, I suppose, where you don't know the lingo. We went in there and we thought, and they realised we were English, so they came up with these menus that were sort of half Chinese and half English, but there wasn't very good translations. So we were looking at these menus going, okay, well, what do we have? So we turned around and you look at the tables, I suppose, around you, and we went, ooh, that one looks good, what's that? We'll have that. And they'll come back, they came back to us with these menus, and they'd tap on the thing and go, They go, okay, and action actually speaks 1,000 words. I'm like, oh no, I want that. No, that. And I go, okay. And I brought it out and it was wonderful. It was one of the best meals that we've had. And, you know, and that's how we travel wherever we are. Yeah, so we'll go in there and we'll just look at something and yeah, point to it, go, okay, it smells good or it looks good or it looks interesting, but we have to be prepared to eat whatever comes out. So if it's bull's pizzle, it's bull's pizzle. But yeah, so that's how we've been travelling around Europe and around other places. And we found these incredible eateries. I mean, even in the States where we know things, we've found some, you know, really nice, you know, what is it? Arepas, which is like this place we found in New York. It's Venezuelan type food with pancakes, corn cakes and stuff. Cheap as chips, you know. And we were shocked when we went up to. Everyone said to us, "Oh, you've got to go to this place called the Shake Shack in New York." And we went, "Okay, well, what are you talking about? It's just, you know, fries and shakes and burgers." Went up to the window and they said, "How would you like your meat done?" Okay. And we always said we weren't going to go to America because it was boring and all they had was hot dogs. And we went to this hot dog place, you know, Quick Dogs, and it's the best hot dog I've ever had. So, you know, there are, if you go to buy the right guidebooks, I suppose is the other thing we go by. You know, we travel with Lux Guides, and in there, it sort of changes every year, but it's got a section on like really expensive, just good food and good places to go, where you can go with your family and all these different walks around towns and stuff. And we found that really handy if we don't know anybody from there or that's been there that can give us recommendations. The other one is Shannon Bennett's guides we like. So, you know, Paris and there's New York and there's, and my brother. He's incredible. So, yeah, if you know people and where they're coming from and, what sort of food they like.
And a very lovely note to end on, which is seeing the world through food. So, you know, the exhibition upstairs is seeing our history through food, and tonight we've had a wonderful look into your food life. I really appreciate it, Anna. Thank you very much.
Thank you for asking.
It's been lovely.
It's been nice.
Thanks for
I've got sample jars of jams and also my dad's chicken wing recipe modified by me. We've got the first jam we ever made was a cherry, lemon verbena and shishmok peppercorn jam. It was really made as a sauce, and it was a base while the fruit was there, so that I could concentrate all the flavours, and then just whisk it in with like vinegars and stuff like that to put on a duck salad, and that was what it was originally made for. And then we had some at home, and I actually spread it onto a hot, crispy croissant, and I went, oh wow, I've got to have some more of that. So yeah, so that's how we started our product range. So I thought I'd share that experience with all of you. If you'd like to take a jar home with you and try it on a croissant and see if you have the same reaction.